Hello, and welcome to another game development broadcast for Project CSK. This is going to be our regular broadcast that we usually do on Fridays. Just as a heads up, I have been having some technical complications. I think it is due to a Windows update that I recently did. I'm not sure what happened, but my audio is seems to not be recognized sometimes. I have no idea why. But if the audio is not working, please let me know in chat, and I will look into it and see if I can address it. Hopefully, it's working. But I mean, right now I don't really know, because even recording, like doing a local test and doing a local record and then trying to play back the audio, I'm getting nothing. I have to go in and keep changing some settings to try and get it working. It's, you know how it is. Windows update comes out, breaks a bunch of stuff, you fix it, and you wait till for the next Windows update to do pretty much the same thing. But anyway, so we're going to continue working on the project like we have been doing for some time, and we are going to continue more or less pretty much from the last broadcast. I don't remember exactly where we left things off in the last broadcast, and to be honest, I have not had a chance to even turn on my computer since the last broadcast. So we're going to continue exactly from that point. I think we were working on visual effects or particle effects or something along those lines. We'll take a quick look at it and see kind of what state the things are in, and just pick it up right from there and continue to move forward. For those of you that are new, hello and welcome. I do broadcasts on Tuesdays and on Fridays. I don't broadcast for very long, and it's something that I do for fun as a hobby and to give you guys a behind the scenes look of what's going on in terms of the project. The broadcast is about as real as it can be in terms of the challenges that I face, trying to figure stuff out. Sometimes things work out, sometimes things don't work out. It's just the way development goes, right? And I'm learning all of this stuff as I go along, right? I'm not an expert by any means. I don't work as a developer for a company or anything like that. I do programming and whatnot currently only as a hobby on my own spare time, and I make that time to allocate it to do something that I enjoy doing and do something that I can continue to learn from and make something cool. Um, of course, I do have some background in programming and whatnot, which is what allows me to kind of understand some things, but that doesn't mean I know everything, not even remotely close. Some areas I may know a little bit more, other areas I may know less, and then other areas I may know nothing at all, right? So it's just an interesting journey, let's just say, of exploration, creativity, and sharing it with you guys. Anyway, so for those of you that are here, hello, and for those of you that are going to be watching later on YouTube, hello to you as well. Okay, so let's jump right into it and kind of see where we last left things off in the last broadcast and pick it up right from there. I'm starting to remember it was something along the lines of the popsicle or something. So just going to connect my controller, an Xbox controller. Okay, so controller is connected, and then we throw a popsicle. Oh, right, yeah, okay. So we kind of, we're trying to figure out the popsicle to get it to look visually appropriate for something that's going to freeze on impact, or on not necessarily on impact, but it'll create a area of effect that it will freeze anyone who is within that space on impact. So if you're within that area, you would get frozen. It's supposed to be using the object pool system. So hopefully that part of it is working. Right now we got 2 active. Okay, so as we use them, it should alternate from the pool to being used to going back into the pool, and then the next one. Okay, so that seems to be working fine. And again, if my audio is not coming through, please let me know. I have been having audio complications since the very recent Windows update that I did yesterday. I didn't know, uh, or was it yesterday or today? I forget. I wasn't aware that it was going to be one of those Windows updates that comes with the bonus of messing up your audio. Had I known that, I would have done it after the broadcast on the weekend, so I have some time to diagnose it and see what's going on. But I mean, I guess that goes to teach you a lesson of don't do Windows updates on your computer right when you're about to do something because you never know what's going to happen. That's a lesson that I clearly need a reminder on every so often. Okay, so from just messing around with this looks okay. I think in terms of the particle effect that's used for the projectile popsicle that's being thrown, I think that definitely has room for improvement. But I think there's definitely some progress that was made in that it's not so overwhelming. It looks a little bit more appropriate, and we'll continue to improve on it moving forward. But there's other things that I also want to work on, and I think I want to work on some of that stuff. So one of them is the shield, which is pretty bland right now. So it's not that interesting, but we'll make it interesting. And then the other one is the block, which I can't do because we don't have a functionality for it for test environment. I can only do it in the within the active game room. So let's do that. I think I would like to do the block one. So let's change our scene to the test scene. Okay, so let's see, what do we have here? Oh, right, the popsicle. It auto recycles itself into the object pool when it's running in test mode. I need to address that at some point, but for right now, I think it's okay. Okay, so I don't see anything out of the ordinary. Hopefully the broadcast is going well with audio and video. I guess I'll just have to wait and see on the replay afterward and see what that sounds like. Because right now I'm not sure how to verify. Anyway, okay, so what I want to do is be able to test the environment block. So we have right now is this little bit of a test environment kind of thing. How can we test that? Okay, so what we'll need to do is we will need to make a another object similar to this one here. So let's Control D, duplicate that, move that one over. And this one, we're going to change it to block variation. I think it's number 4, the gray one. I don't remember exactly, but let's quickly run it and just have a look at it and see what variation ID it is. Okay, so that is our block. Okay, so we have block 4. Let's add a button as well for the animation of it. Okay, so we'll duplicate this as well. And then we'll go in and let's rename this to play block intro. And we'll just change that to intro. I think intro makes a bit more sense because play is already assumed, right? So then what we'll do on this object, let's remove that for now. What we'll need to do is we will need to add a kind of a reveal kind of thing, and then we'll get in there and we'll start adding some interesting animations or some modifications, should I say, and we'll add some particle effects. Yeah, I definitely want to add some particle effects. I've been having a lot of fun with the particle effects. I'm using it only to a very basic level, but you can do so much with particles. It's like there's no limit. It's whatever your creativity is and your understanding of it just helps kind of really propel it to a whole nother level. It's like a tool in your tool set, right? The better you know how to use the tool, the more creative you can get with it too, and achieve some pretty cool stuff in terms of just what you can do with it. And if you've played video games, which I'm going to assume you have, if you're watching this broadcast, particle effects are used everywhere inside of video games, sometimes even inside applications too, but oftentimes mostly used inside of video games for visual aesthetics, effects, tracers, just illumination, or whatever types of use case scenario you might have for it. Particle effects are used a lot. And they're great because they're done on a GPU, or they're traditionally done on the GPU. So it doesn't really put a load on your CPU. Instead, you're pushing that to your GPU. As long as your GPU can handle it and you're not trying to render too many particles, you can do some pretty cool stuff. And it's got functionality specifically for it. So you can do some pretty high particle counts, or whatever the terminology is for it. Like if you were to try to control individual objects, as an example, on your CPU and have each one of them be an object, a sprite that's rendered, or a texture that's rendered, the CPU cost would be astronomically high, even on a modern high-end CPU. But because you're putting that load onto the GPU and the GPU is designed specifically for that, you could do particle counts of, like, in the thousands or maybe even hundreds of thousands. And depending on the GPU, it could go through that at fairly easily, right? Of course, mobile devices are not as powerful as desktop GPUs, but even on mobile devices with the later technologies, or the new, what is it called, the 8 plus Gen 1 or Gen 1 plus 1 plus whatever it's called, the latest GPUs that have come out, they're really good. But I'm not aiming for that. I'm aiming for the low tier of hardware minimum system requirements. And then we'll add some additional visual aesthetics on top later. If someone wants to add some more, visual eye candy on top, we'll put that into the performance and quality settings later on. But my goal is for the lower tier of hardware so that everybody can play it, right? An example I usually give is that if you can run Minecraft, you should be able to run this. And that's kind of my goal, is if you can run Minecraft even to a 30 frames per second on a mobile device, like an Android device, you should be able to play this game pretty much the same in probably 30 frames per second on a low-end mobile device. That's the idea anyway, but I haven't really done too much performance testing. What I did do is, what was it, a week ago or something? I did a build for my Android device, which is, I would say, low-end device from 2019, and it is a tablet. It doesn't have impressive hardware specs by any means, 2 gigs of RAM kind of thing. Not much, right? But it was running at 60 frames per second. So that was pretty cool. And there were some hiccups here and there because of texture caching and whatnot, but I mean, we'll get into the performance optimization stuff later on, and we'll pre-cache all the stuff that needs to be loaded so then you don't get those hiccups during gameplay. But yeah, so that's going to be kind of the idea, and it's going to be good. It's going to be fun. when we get there. But particle effects, yeah, they are really interesting. I thought I clicked on it. Okay, so this object here on, let's see, at what point, environment dynamic object, I think probably actually at that point, what we want to do is we want to, because this should have the animation property curve at this level. And if it has it as this level or maybe lower, no, it's right here. Okay, so we will add it in at this level, or we could add it as a component, but I want everything to inherit this functionality. So likely we'll add it in at this level. Yeah, because it'll only be activated when we go to use it, and it's going to use the animation property curve. Because that's really, it's primarily going to be using that, and then it's going to be using the particle system. Maybe we do move it to its own class. Now that I think about it, I think we might move it to its own. Let's not overthink it. We'll just add it into this one for now, and then if I need to, we'll separate it out. This class is getting a bit big. Actually, it's not that big. It's that huge switch statement that's making it big. I do need to move that later on. I just haven't really figured out which direction I'm going to go with it yet. So later on, when I do figure it out, this will come down significantly. It's about just over 1,100 lines of code. But if we remove that huge switch statement, that's like probably 700-800 lines of code right there. Yeah, probably closer to 900. Yeah, so it'll come right down to about 300 lines of code, which is kind of, you know, a good spot to have it. I generally like to keep my classes small, but of course, when you need to put more logic in there, you do need to put it in there. But that's not too often. Oftentimes, I do like to keep it small and kind of everything compartmentalized and categorized to their appropriate respective classes. Again, I don't know if the audio is working. So for those of you listening, if you can just give me a heads up that the audio is working, that would be great. If not, I'll have to wait and see after the fact to see if the audio is working correctly or not. Okay, so what we need is a test call right now for, so we will call it, it'll be a public, yeah, we'll make it a public. So we'll say public void play animation reveal, play animation reveal block. For right now, I'm not too concerned about naming, but what we want to do is we want to take that and we want to connect our button to call that specific function, just so I don't forget it later, really. Okay, and our button is this one here. I like to use world space for my UI stuff, just because it gives me more control for me that I find. I like that kind of usability. So I use world space. That way I have really fine-grained control over the UI stuff, where everything goes in a three-dimensional space, and exactly how it's going to look as well. right? So I almost always use world space. I'm not saying you should as well. Generally, you would use screen space overlay, which is fine. But just a caution is that when you go to use world space, you need to take other considerations into account in comparison to when you're using the other options, such as screen space overlay or camera for that matter. Okay, so what we want to do is the button, I want to listen in on, let's make a bit more space here. Where was our, I think it was this one, yes. Okay, so we want button. We will drag and drop this here and select the environment dynamic class and select play animation reveal block. Yeah, okay, so that's our function that we're going to be calling. Okay, so that part of it is good. So what's it going to do though? This will call the animation property curve, which we're going to get into very soon. First thing it should do is reset previous values for new animation. This only applies if there was a previous animation played recently. Okay, so that's kind of what we need to do. So we need to reset, because I want to keep testing the animation again and again through that button. And then what this is going to do is it's going to play the animation which we have yet to define. So it's going to be using our animation property curve. It's going to be playing animation. We need the animation name. We will call it animation reveal block. Wait, do we call it by ID or do we call it by name? I forget. Can we do a string name? Yeah, we can. Okay. Okay, so we'll get into that. All right, so I think this is all we need to do here for now. So let's jump over into the animation stuff. And what we'll do is we will go into our block, which is this one here. Okay, so this is going to be our block. So let's go into it. So we're in the prefab because we want to make these adjustments on the prefab. That way everything inherits the functionality of it. Okay, so this should have a, I thought it had a, I thought we had an animation property curve at this point. Am I missing something? Interesting. We don't have a, oh, we do. It's just not set. Okay. Okay, so we're just not using it yet. We're not? I thought we were. So we got stop animation, play intro. Okay, so we don't have anything. Oh, okay, so then we're not using it yet. Not yet implemented. Okay, so that would be a clear indication. That's okay though, because we're going to use it. Okay, so it's easy enough to add. We will add it at the parent, I believe, is the best location to add it for this. The way that I made the class, the component, is that it doesn't matter at what hierarchy level you add it at. It'll allow you to choose the target. It won't directly apply to the current object that you add the component to. So you can add it at the parent level, at the topmost tree level of the prefab, but then the animations can be applied to one or more objects in the nested children hierarchy. I intentionally did that because initially I did the target being the object you apply it to, and realized that that didn't really fit my needs. I needed it to be a bit more versatile. So what we're going to do is we're going to add animation property curve, okay? And then we're going to add one. And one is usually the intro. So it's usually the intro reveal. So I'm going to leave that one. And we're going to add another one. On this one, we're going to call reveal. Okay, reveal block. So that one, the intro, we're going to leave empty. We're going to use index position 1 because it is zero based, of course. So what we're going to do is we're going to do some distortion properties. Let's pick our first one. Our first one is that I want it to come down, right? Because what I want to achieve is that you're dropping the block. And when you're dropping it, I want there to be some interesting animation transition kind of stuff. So we're going to do a position Y. And the good thing is that you can choose the target object. So in this case, we're not going to be applying it to our parent object. We're going to be applying it to our target. So probably the container, actually, because the container has the shadows and everything else. Does Collider fall into that? It does not. Perfect. Okay, so we're going to use the container as our target for the Y, but then for the other distortion properties, we don't have to keep using this specific child hierarchy. We can use a different one. Okay, and then our curve is going to be, we'll just say it's linear. Okay, and this is really the star of the show. I did the entire class, component class that I made is just to wrap around this, because you can do some pretty cool stuff with this that you normally would have to do through code, or you could do whatever, right? And it's just so easy to use it. I really like it. Okay, so we're going to have a duration, which we'll set, but for right now, let's go with 0.3-ish. So we're going to have a value start and a value end. The value end is going to be 0. The value start will be our offset position that we're going to start at, because it's going to be a relative position within the parent. So this is going to have a relative position. So it'll come down to 0, but it may start from, you know, higher up, like let's say at value of 1 or something, but then it'll come down. And then we'll continue to add more modifications, and it will get it to look good. Actually, I think I've already done this in the other version. I think I already did. Let's have a look at that, because it's going to be the same concept, I think. Maybe I can borrow some stuff from it. That would be kind of nice. It'll help expedite this. Because what I did was I was working in another project, which is this project, but I mean another project container or whatever you want to call it, project file. But I was doing too much test stuff and it was getting a little bit convoluted. I went in to try to clean it up and I couldn't really realistically clean it up. So I ended up just abandoning that one and rebuilding it piece by piece, taking everything from that project. So the work's already done, taking it from there, and there goes my camera. Taking everything from that one and then bringing it into this one, which is kind of how this version came to be. So this is the old one. So it was great for testing and whatnot, but it kind of unfortunately couldn't be salvaged, so I had to move away from that one. The newer one the new project file and container, everything I'm working on is much cleaner because the test stuff I've already done a good chunk of it. So this time I won't have so much legacy stuff inside of it as well. Okay, so what I want to do is I want to find my test thing. I believe I had it somewhere. I just don't remember where. There we go. So that's the old one. Okay. And that's what the popsicle is going to kind of look like. Is that when it hits the ground, it'll break, but then it'll explode and it will freeze. Okay. I don't see it in here. Maybe it was in a different area because I thought I did do it. Where would it be? I'm trying to think. Maybe I didn't do it. I don't really know. I don't recall. I really do think I did do it though. Let's dig a little deeper and see in the prefabs environment, pick up item popsicle. Okay. So does this have a animation property curve? Okay. Animated intro. That looks very much like it. No, that would not be it. I don't think so. That looks like a only an XY distortion. So that would be maybe for the explosive placement. And there's only one, so okay, well, if it's not here, then it wouldn't be in here. Okay, well, it was worth a look. That's fine. It's not a big deal. We can make it happen. Okay, so let's look at this objectively. What we want to do is go through it step by step and just create it. First is to have a start value of, we'll just throw a number out there. So we want to transition from 1 down to 0. And if we save this and we go back to our scene, this object should now have inherited that functionality, and we can just mess with it here. Okay, so if we play this, we're going 1 to 0. I remember there was a trick I needed to do. Because I couldn't figure out how to do it in the way that I wanted, so I had to do a workaround. What else do we have that does the exact same thing? I believe the the bomb placement, actually, now that I think about it, almost does the exact same thing. Yeah, that's more or less what we're doing, is that right there. But of course, modifying it. Yeah, that's pretty much it right there, actually. I can just copy and paste that. That's a cool thing about working with these kinds of animations. So that was this object. Explosive. Position X, Y. Where's the... Okay, so that's the XY scale. No. We have the exit animation, and is this the right object? Value start is at 0. Position X, position... Oh, okay, so position X is... Why do I have a position X? I'm not using a position X. Why is that in there? Let's try that. I think that was a mistake. Because it has no target either. So if it has no target, it applies to the self or something. I don't know. Okay, so maybe that's not used. Interesting. Okay, so maybe I'm not using that. Maybe that could have all been a test. With this one here, though, so we have scale X, scale Y, scale Z, scale X, scale Y, shockwave. Oh, that's definitely the explosion. Oh, there's 3. Okay, we have position X, Y, and then we got intro. Intro is... Okay, that makes sense. So intro is the one where it comes down. So we're manipulating scale X, scale Y, and position Y. That's exactly correct. So this is it coming down. I'm not sure why there's a bit of a curve there, but okay. Yeah, so this is what I want. What we'll do is we will take this one here. So we'll copy that one. And we'll go to the other object. Okay. Okay, of course it's pointing to the wrong object right now, but we will fix that. It's because it's still pointing reference-wise to the other object, which is not correct. Oh, we didn't apply it to the prefab. Okay, that's fine. So what we do is we just want to point to this container. I just don't want to reference the other one. Okay, and then we'll go to overrides, dynamic quad, environment, dynamic object, property curve. Okay, so I want to just apply this one. Okay, and then what we'll do is we will go into the prefab here, just so I don't drag and drop the wrong stuff. Okay, so this looks good to me. So the target, actually we're not going to do the scale X and Y yet. So let's disable those. We're just going to do the Y. We just want it to come down from start of 0.2 to 0, duration 0.2. Okay, that looks good. So let's go and run that. So this should work in theory. Okay, that's why I said in theory. So why is it not working? Oh, okay. Yeah, okay. It's not going to work. Not until we set the reference. So we need that reference right here. That's why. Okay. Yeah, that wasn't going to work unless we set that reference. Now it should work. We did everything right. We just forgot to set the reference in the inspector. Okay. There we go. Yeah. I know it doesn't look like much right now, but that's a pretty good start. Okay. So now that we have that, what we can do is bring in some of the other stuff. One, I want it to be higher. Let's change that to the start value from a 1. Okay. Let's change this to just be flat. Okay. Okay, so what happens when we add scale X and Y? Okay. That looks okay, but that's not what I want. I want a different type of XY distortion. I want it to kind of be narrow when it's coming down, and then when it hits the ground, do this jiggle thing where it kind of gives the illusion of it's coming down quickly, and then we'll add an alpha transparency modification to it as well. So when it comes in initially, it'll alpha in instead of it coming in like this. And the good thing about this is that we can extend the duration. So we could easily extend the duration through script and make it super slow so you can see what's going on, right? That's why I like having this kind of a class, is you can just slow it down just by editing some numbers. Okay, so what we want to do, of course, is we want the Y position. So let's just focus on 1. We'll disable the X and we'll just go with Y. Actually, no, sorry. We'll disable the Y and we'll go with X. Yeah. Okay, so on the X, what we want to do is we want the value start to probably be around 0.5, right? So we want it to be 0.5 until it hits the ground. That we'll tweak that later. So that means this, the XY animation should be playing longer than the Y position movement, right? So then what we want is we want it to be longer. So let's just go make it 30% longer. Okay, so then at the 2/3 point is where we want the animations to happen. So the 2/3 point would be at, let's edit the key, would be at, of course, the 66. Yeah, we'll say at this point is when it's going to hit the ground. So if at this point is when it's going to hit the ground, then that would mean that this here can just be because here's kind of what I'm thinking is something like this, and then we will flatten that out. Okay, so that means the starting value should be starting value value, we'll make that 0.5. Let's see what this does. Okay, slowly getting there. Then we want this to be a bit more drastic when it hits the ground. Okay. Still, that initial part where it's transitioning, I want this to be a consistent value. So probably, well, maybe not consistent. I want this part to be pretty flat. So we'll delete that key. Grab this one. Nope. Let's undo. And then we will break that. Okay, so that seems about right. So it'll go straight till it hits the ground. Okay, and then it'll do that. Of course, this is super slow, right? Once you speed it up, that's when it really looks like an animation. And then we'll tweak the numbers. But I like this kind of tweaking because it can be applied to any object. You do the animation once, and because it's done like this is like, in a way, scripted animation using a component to assist you. So it works out very well for me so far. So I'm happy with this so far. So it comes down, hits the ground, and then it does its little bit of bounce. I know it's very subtle right now, and that's what it's supposed to be. Okay, so I am noticing that it's going the wrong way. So when it hits the ground, it's going in, then out, then in. So this is actually supposed to be the other way, the curve. So let's move this one up here, this one down here. So when it hits the ground, we want it to go wider, then narrower, then even out. Okay, yeah, that's what we want. So it hits the ground wide, and then it does this little quick little thing. Okay. Okay. So then what we're going to do is we're going to take this one, copy it, paste it onto the Y. Okay. And on the Y, it's going to do a very similar thing with some slight differences. So Y is actually going to be the opposite. It's going to be larger and it's going to get smaller. So Y is going to be value start of 1.2. Yeah, we'll go with 1.2. Let's have a look at that and see what does that look like. Okay, and let's disable the X and just look at the Y. Right? Very subtle, very subtle. Okay, I'll likely need to increase the values out a little bit, but okay, so we'll make this a 1.4 instead. Okay. And then if we add X back in, okay, so now we're getting that nice little jello effect when it hits the ground. Okay, I'm happy with that so far. I think that's acceptable. And then once we speed it up, of course, it's going to look different. All right, so I want to save this. So what we're going to do is we're going to click on the three dots and say copy component. Stop it. And go back to the same. Go back to the same component. Click on the three dots and say paste component values. Right? So then they all go back to where they were. So we can test it again by clicking play. And of course, we do want to apply it to the prefab. So then it's stored at the prefab level instead of just this instance. But okay, so here's what it looks like. Okay, and then if we go and we speed it up now, just got to remember that the duration of the X and Y needs to be 30% longer than the duration of the, the duration of the XY scale needs to be 30% longer because that's when the impact is with the ground. So this will need to be, let's say if we make this 0.5, then we make these 0.75, right? So then it's 25%. Or sorry, 0.25 value, which means it's 1/3 longer, really. Okay, whoops, 0.75. Not sure what happened there. Okay, so let's play that. Okay, that looks a lot more. Of course, we'll speed it up later on. But I would say that that's pretty good. Okay, so let's add another property now. So what we're going to do is we're going to add alpha. So this one is going to be alpha, and the alpha is going to be applied to the dynamic quad. So the alpha is going to have a start value of 0, end value of 1. Duration is going to be very quick, so we'll go with 0.1, and it's just going to be flat. That's all it's going to be. Okay, so let's have a look at that now. All right. So now the alpha is coming in. If we extend that alpha out to, let's say, 0.5, this is what it looks like. Right? So we could even go with something like that, but I want the alpha to be much quicker. And the cool thing is we can modify it independently of any one of these other properties that we're manipulating. I know it's not the same as working on a timeline, and some people prefer to work on a timeline, but this is kind of how I think. I see things, every single one of these properties, I see them as a different thing. Like each one of them is a separate component, and you can manipulate them if you understand how they work with time, right? So this one, we'll make it 0.2 then for total time, okay? So we got this nice little thing going on so far. I think that's pretty good for starting point. Of course, we're going to speed it up quite a bit more, but I intentionally want to keep it slow right now. And we'll likely even change some of the other parameters to varying. I'm confident we'll change some of the other parameters. But for right now, I do want to save this again. Click on the three dots, and we'll say copy component. You can stop it. And then click on the three dots and click paste component values. And now we have our alpha in there as well. And the other thing I want to do is now I want to apply it to the prefab. So click on overrides, click on environment animation property curve, and I just say apply this. I know this goes out of screen for you guys. You don't see it. Sorry, I don't know how to bring that into screen just because of the screen resolution I'm using. You only see one quadrant, but all I'm doing is just clicking on the apply button. Apply to prefab. And these ones that were once had a little blue indicator on the left like this here, right? They no longer show that blue indicator because they're applied to the prefab. And you can see that by clicking on holding Alt and then click on this arrow button, go into the prefab, and you can see that these changes that we made are now into the main prefab itself. Okay, so we've done those. So what else do I want to do? I want to add probably two particle effects, two separate particle system effects. One for when it's falling to make it look like it's coming down with some speed or momentum. And then the other being when it hits the ground, right? I want a little bit, not much, a very, very small amount of kind of like a smoke cloud effect coming from the base of where it hit the ground and go outwards, right? So it'll go out on the X and on the Z. It will not go on the Y really. The main focus is to have it push outward, right? That way it really kind of drives that point of this thing just came down from up above and it impacted the ground, and here's the result. So that's going to be the, I think it'll look good. It'll require a little bit of tweaking, but I do think it will look good. Oh, hello, Mr. Cog 3D. How are you doing today? Welcome to the broadcast. Why? Why not the why, right? I don't know at what point you came in, but you came in just in time. Good, thanks. How are you? I'm doing well. It was a crazy work week. I got nothing done in terms of stuff that I wanted to get done just because work just became a priority and overtook everything. Had a work event and everything downtown. And I didn't really have a chance to work on the project or do stuff that I wanted to do, but that's okay though, because the weekend is ahead of us and I'm really looking forward to it. But yeah, no, I'm doing good. So I don't know at what point you came in, but right now we're working on this little effect here. So what it's going to do is we just got the 4 attributes four properties we're manipulating. So we're manipulating the X, we're manipulating the Y scale. So we're manipulating XY scale in this manner, right, for the animation. And then we're manipulating the Y position for it to just come down. It's just straight linear interpolation. And then we're manipulating the alpha as well. So individually, they don't look great, but when you put them together, this is what you get, right? And it's very slow right now. We'll speed it up later. So this is the start of it. So the next step is two particle effects. One, when it hits the ground, a little bit of smoke going to come, not smoke, I guess cloud or dust, I guess it might be more accurate. Little bit of dust from the point of impact is going to come outward. And then the other particle effect is when it's coming down, we want to kind of make it look like it's got some stuff coming down, kind of like not so much a tracer, but just to kind of add a little bit more stylized visual effect to it. Is that for the walk? No. Dust would be neat. Yes, that's exactly it. So we're going to add two particle effects. I don't know if you've seen the previous broadcast, but we were working on the popsicle. I think I don't know actually. Sorry, my memory's not so clear right now. I don't remember if you were here for the last broadcast where I was having difficulties with the video feed. In this broadcast, I'm having challenges with the audio for some reason. I did a Windows update right before going live. Not a good idea. Not a good idea. That's my own fault. It messed up my audio, and I wasn't sure if it was going to even work because I couldn't, like, you know, when you go to play a test video file or whatever using VLC or whatever it is that you play, I was getting zero audio, right? I went in and I looked at it, and Windows, after doing the update, forgot what my audio, my configured audio output device was. Not only that, it reset all the volumes for my convenience to 0. I have no idea why, right? So, but that's Windows, so they do that from time to time. But anyway, so that's what happened right before going live, and I really don't get it. How can you push a Windows update out that, like, not every Windows update is like that, but enough of them are like that every time that I do a Windows update, I'm crossing my fingers and hoping, please don't break something, please don't break something, please don't break something. And then I go and I open it, I'm like, oh, something's broken, right? And then you're wasting your time trying to fix it. Can I bill Microsoft for that? I mean, like, can we get Bill Gates on this show and I'll ask him, hey, can we bill you? Can every single person on the planet who's inconvenienced by Windows Update and waste their time fixing it afterward, can we bill you? That would be great. Yeah, that would be really great. I'm not sure how well that conversation would go, but I would ask it. Your audio driver was updated this time? I don't believe so. Like I don't even know what the update includes anymore. There's no patch notes. You have to go figure it out, right? And Windows, they do different updates to different regions and different hardware and different, you know, other things they take into consideration. I really don't like it. Like, for example, if you use Microsoft Office Suite, right? You could be sitting next to someone else, which I was, right? So they would get one version of Outlook. I would get another version of Outlook, right? You could know because you go and it's buried into the, on the about or on wherever, and you can see the build version, right? And you can see that it's a different build version. And sometimes I will have different functionality than the other person. Sometimes they get an update that breaks their Outlook, and I get a different update that doesn't break my Outlook, and vice versa, right? So that is an ongoing thing. And it's something that they've been doing for a very, very long time. So that would explain the volume reset. You can tell what they updated. You're not wrong. You're not wrong. It's just that it's difficult to pinpoint exactly what it is sometimes, because my audio drivers, I'm using a audio interface, and I have the latest drivers. Microsoft does not. That's not one of those hardware components that they will update the drivers for. But what they may do behind the scenes is change some configuration settings that will reset something that's already set, right? I remember there was also this popular update back in Windows 7 that would break your icons, right? So then what you had to do is, after doing that update, you had to go into deep buried in Windows. You had to go in there and use this function where it would rebuild your icons. That was like absurd, right? But those are the things that you have to do when there's a new Windows update and you don't know. It's not like they tell you it when you're about to hit that update, oh, hey, by the way, here's the things that we're going to be modifying, here's the point form, and here's the potential complications that may come from it, right? That would be great. I would vote for that kind of an option instead of Windows Update is available. Do you want to update now? No. Okay. I'll click the no, right? I do my stuff, and then all of a sudden, an hour later, your screen goes blue and it says Windows is updating and your computer restarts, and you're thinking, like, seriously? Like, I'm in the middle of something. I said no. I didn't say reschedule it for an hour later. There's a difference between no and reschedule it for an hour from now. There's a clear and distinct difference between the two, right? So anyway, I'm sure you can tell, I'm not too pleased with Windows often, or Microsoft, should I say. Anyway, okay, so let's see. We're going to add some particle effects. So let's get into that and add something. The particle effect system is really fun. I like it. It's fun to work with, and it offers a lot of interesting things. What we'll do is we will create a effects object, because I don't want to manipulate the other stuff. Or sorry, I don't want what I'm manipulating from the other objects to affect this one. So what we'll do is we will go to effect and we will say particle system. Okay, of course it's massive. Okay. I'm still very new to the particle system, and there goes my camera. I'm still very new to the particle system and how it kind of works and whatnot, but okay, so what we want it to do is we want emission shape, we want not a cone, but probably a box, I think makes more sense, because it is a box. And then rotation on the, because we want it to go upwards, I think we need to change this to 90. Nope, minus 90. Nope, that's wrong. I always forget which one it is. Is it the... No. Actually, it might be that. Nope. Okay. Third option. There we go. Third one. I should have done the third one first. Okay, so that's going to be one of them. That's going to be the one for when it's coming down. We'll add a bit of an effect on that. And then there will be another one for impact onto the when it hits the ground. So we'll add a kind of a little dust effect. So for this one, what we want to do is we'll definitely change the, where is it, texture? I forget. We will change the texture. Likely, I'm just trying to think, how do we want to approach this? A lot of these configurations, I don't remember exactly what I did, so I will reference one of the other objects that I did that I think is a pretty good reference. Actually, probably the popsicle, now that I think about it. So if we go to the popsicle, effects, particle effect. Okay, so we'll use this kind of as a kind of a reference of sorts. And then we'll go back into our object. Okay, so let's see. What do we want to change? We definitely want to have a shorter duration. So we'll go duration much shorter. Looping, probably not. But for right now, we'll leave it as looping. So we'll leave it as looping. Delay, no. Start lifetime. Okay, so that would be how long the particles will be visible for. Let's bring that down to 1 for now. Start speed. That's really fast. Let's bring it down quite a bit for now, and then we'll move them later once we change them a little bit. Okay. 3D start size. Yeah, it's not 3D. Start size, we do want to bring it down to, I think, 0.1. So it'll be much smaller. Maybe actually not 0.1. It'll probably end up being something like 0.3 or something. But we'll bring down the scale for now. Okay, and then what else do we want? Start rotation, no. Flip rotation, no. Start color, we'll leave it as default. Gravity source, 3D physics, 2D physics. I don't think that matters right now. Gravity modifier, simulation, local, we definitely want world. Okay. And then delta time, not going to change that. Local, not going to change that. Play on awake. Play on awake. We're going to trigger it by script. So it'll be script controlled. And then rigid body. No, we want it from its transform. Max particles, 1,000 is definitely not what we're going to be aiming for. It'll probably be closer to 10. 10 particles at one time. So it's going to be scattered. It's not going to be a busy one. It's going to be a very light one, and that's by design, because we don't want to create particles that, you know, there's no need for it, because the shape that we go and we put in there is ultimately going to make this look the stylized thing that we want it to be. Okay, and then auto random seed, I think that's fine. So the other stuff is fine. Okay, so let's have a look at emission. Emission rate over time 10. we'll leave that. I don't think we need to adjust that for right now, so we'll leave that. Shape, I think we already set that. Oh, right, we do need to bring down the shape scale. We need it to be 0.4, 0.4, 0.4, so that it matches the object size. Yeah, okay, so we definitely need that. Okay, so that's going to be it for shape. Color by lifetime, we may use that, I think, likely for alpha. Yeah, we'll be using it for alpha for sure. So let's go color of a lifetime, and we'll just copy that, paste it over here. Let's have a look at it. Okay, so that means over its lifespan, it'll fade out. We'll want the fade to happen right at the very end of its life. So yeah, we'll say about the 80% point. So it'll be solid, and then it'll fade to nothing, and that's when it's going to be reaching end of life anyway. What else do we want to manipulate? Size over lifetime? I don't think so, not for this one. Texture animation, we will get into that. And then render. Render, it is going to be billboard, particle, sprite unlit default, and we got particle units. Now I think I want that sprite unlit default. Yeah. I am going to be changing the texture, of course, but this is not going to be affected by light. It's going to be pretty standard. Okay, so sorting, that looks fine. Sort mode. I don't know if I need to do that. Sort mode. Let's not mess with that right now. Render. View, I think, makes sense. Default off. Okay. So I think that's a pretty good start point. So now what we need is we need textures for the particle. We're probably only going to have one or two, and they're going to be very, very simple. But let's make that real quick, as well as make the kind of the what do you call it, the dust from when it hits the ground for the other particle effect that we're going to do. So for this one, we will enable this. It will be sprites. It'll be, this looks fine. Start frame, I guess we don't really have values to put into there, so we'll come back to that. Let's open a sprite. We'll snap it over here. And then we'll make a new one. Do we want to make a new one? Yeah, I think so. Okay, so we'll make a new one. This will be a very small one, so we'll make it 64 by 64. Okay, so our particles, what I was thinking is it's going to be really, really simple, right? Like, I mean really simple. So let's go ahead and just start drawing, and we're only going to use one color, really. Oops. So that's pretty much going to be the whole particle. But I want to try out different sizes to see which ones I like better. So what we're going to do is we're just going to take this, and we're just going to make some different sizes out of it, because I'm not sure which size is going to be better looking. Actually, I want a smaller. Okay, so we'll have those. And then we will also have a more basic version of it. Or sorry, a thinner version of it. Same idea. Okay, yeah, that's our whole particle effect right there. Okay, so where are we going to save it to? Oh no, where's my folder? Okay, bear with me for a sec. I want to be able to save it. Okay, so this one, we'll date this one. We are in the, oh my God, what is the date today? So this is block particle effects. Okay, so we got that. Now we can do the little dust. So the dust is going to be pretty simple. It's kind of what I'm thinking. We'll keep it. No, it needs to be very small. We can't do big objects. And then we will add a little bit of an outline to the dust. Yeah. Yeah, we need to keep the dust very small. So let's keep it very small, but let's see if we can add a little bit of style to it, if possible. Okay, so we got two little dust puffs. Let's add maybe one or two more, just have a tiny bit of variation in the dust. Yeah, we'll add two more little tiny dust pieces, and then we'll let the particle system do its magic at that point. Do we want to add a little bit of a shadow to it? Maybe later. Maybe later. Let's not quite go that extent yet. Okay, so I want a really small one. Okay. And then our final one is going to be, I guess, somewhere in between those. But let's go like this. Oops, I cannot draw with the mouse. So let's keep it like this. Didn't really turn out how I wanted it to. Close enough. Okay, so there's our particles, both for the block coming down and for the little bit of dust. So we're going to do this one first, the coming down, and then we'll do the dust one afterwards. So let's go ahead and export this. Okay. Yep, that looks pretty good, right? Okay, so that's ready to be brought in and used. So what we'll do then is we will bring that into our effects folder. This will be UI, single, multiple. We want it to be full rect. We want it to have point no filter because it is pixel art, and I believe it was 64 by 64, compression none. Apply that. So that looks pretty good. We'll go into the sprite editor. Let's move that out of the way. Okay, and we should be able to just tell it to automatic slice, I think is fine, or maybe not. Okay, that didn't work out. Usually automatic slice is pretty good at identifying. No, it seems to think these objects are connected. They're obviously not, but okay. That's fine. Whoops, I always forget. Okay. So there's our objects. I don't know why this one was a bit taller, but okay. So that looks right. We'll just apply that. Okay. And now we should be able to go back to here. Select our particle system. And then go into here and start adding. Okay. Right, we need to update our atlas. Atlas, pack preview. Okay, so the new objects or the new images are added. Now we should be able to start adding. Okay, maybe not. I think I forgot a step. What is the difference between this and this? I don't really see a difference other than the size of the graphic itself. I don't really see a difference other than that. So it should let me go into particle system. We're using sprites. And then, yeah, I don't know. Okay, then I'll just drag and drop it. Oh, now it sees them. Okay. So it didn't give me this selection before until I dragged and dropped it into there. But now it sees them. Okay. So now that it sees, oh, again, it doesn't give me, oh, wait, is it the position? It is the position. Okay, so it was there. I just didn't notice it. Okay. Doesn't quite look right, but we'll get it. We'll get it. We'll definitely get it. Okay, so in terms of, I think we'll want to go with the shorter ones first and then go with the longer ones is kind of what I'm thinking. So we'll go with, oh, right, they kind of got a little messed up. So I think we'll go with this one. So that one was 3 by 12. And then 3 by 9. Okay. Start size 3. We'll bring it down to 2. Okay, so the idea with this is that when it's falling, it'll show this until it hits the ground, right? To really give it that, and it's showing too many, of course. We'll tweak it to make it look more appropriate, but we need to attach it to some code to get it to work. Okay, so when we say play animation reveal block, we need to also play particle effects. Okay, and to do that, we will use the particle system reference. Did I go by it? I think I did. So if particle system does not equal null, particle system dot play. In theory, that should be the starting point for our particle system. So let's have a look at it and see, what does it look like? It's going to look very strange on first play. Okay, it didn't even do the particle. It didn't even do the particle. Okay, why not? Where's our particle? What did I forget? I forgot what? Okay, I didn't set the reference to the particle system. Yeah, I really do want to actually move this to a separate component that we'll add on. I think that would be the, even though it's going to be a very small one, I think it would be the right choice. Because it doesn't make sense for every object to have this. I don't know. Maybe it does. I don't know. What if we want to make the whole level fall out of the sky and land onto the ground? Okay, yeah, so that's not really what we want. And it's playing indefinitely. Okay, it has a little bit of work, but we'll get there. Okay, so it played duration-wise, looping. We definitely don't want it to loop. Duration-wise, we'll say about 0.5. Size was way too big. I think we do want to go to 0.1 maybe. Because we only want it to play once. Right? So now you kind of get the idea of the direction that I would like to go. Still need to get them to be timed correctly, right? But once we get the timing, the positioning, the scale, and the overall effect, it'll make more sense. Because right now it's like, what is this, right? Like it doesn't quite look right. Okay, so there's a number of things we need to do. One, it's still way too big, so we're going to drop it to 0.02, right? Okay. We will increase the emission up to 20 because we want it to be more at the beginning. Okay, and we want their speed to be much higher. So we'll go between two constants, and we'll go between maybe 3 and 5. Okay, so that's that kind of makes sense. I don't know. I'd have to see it. So let's have a look at it and see what does it look like. Okay, so it's kind of getting there. It's a bit too small. I think we need the longer ones. Okay, so we're going to have to switch it to the longer ones, which we can definitely do. Where's our... So we'll switch it to the longer ones and then probably switch it to the thicker one too. Where was it? The texture animation. Okay. So this one is... So this one is the 3x12. And we'll swap that one over to the 4x17. This one is the 3x9, and we will switch it to the 4x21. Okay, let's try that again. Okay. We'll need to make them bigger so that 0.02 was a bit too much. So we'll change that to a 5. Okay. 0.5 is a bit too big. Let's go to 4. Yeah, that seems about good, but let's try 3 just to be sure. I kind of liked 4 better. It was more cartoony looking. Okay, so we need to get the timing now. Because the timing, they're not the same, right? Timing wise, we need to get it to play right when it's coming down. Or do we? I don't know. Let's have a look at the animation timings. So the Y position specifically is at 0.5. So we do kind of have that matching, but I don't want it to still come out when it's at that close. So we'll change the duration of the particle system to being, instead of 0.5, 0.4. Okay, so that makes a bit more sense. Okay, so whatever the duration is for the fall, we'll need to make the duration of the particle system about 10 to 20% shorter. So we'll need to keep that in mind because we're going to speed that whole animation up. But I don't want to speed it up just yet. And the sort seems to be kind of messed up though. Is it not going behind? I don't know. I can't really tell, but I feel like the Z sort is not quite right. It could just be my imagination because it needs a little bit more tweaking. But okay, I think this is okay for now. So what we'll do is click on here, copy component, stop it, go to particle system. Oh, we're on it. Okay. And then paste component values. So we preserve those values that we just messed around with. Okay. All right. So that's our fall. Okay. So what I want to do is I want to do the other particle system as well. So we'll do the dust when it hits the ground, right? And then we'll adjust the timings and do some tweaking stuff to make it all kind of come together and make it look really good. So it should be, I think it'll look good. But overall though, this animation needs to be extremely quick. The jiggle bounce on the ground doesn't have to be that fast, but the falling onto the ground, it needs to be like a blink of an eye kind of fast, right? So that's why we'll need to adjust the particles and the cloud, or sorry, the dust effect when it hits the ground. We'll see how that goes. But for that, we'll need to create a whole nother one. Oh, before I forget, let's go and apply this to the prefab. Oops, that's not it. Go here, overrides particle system, apply to prefab. Okay. So now it's in the prefab instead of just being this instance of this object that we're working on. Okay, so this one was, we'll call it, what could we call it? Speed lines, tracer. I don't know. I can't think of a good name for it. We'll need to come up with it, but I'll just duplicate it though. The duplicate will be the effect No, it's already in effect. So we'll just call it dust particles. And then the one that we were working on, that one will be the light beams. I don't really know what to call that. I really don't know what to call that, but we'll just call it beams for now. Okay, so we have this one. Now we need to do this one. So this one here, of course, is going to be a little bit different, but it's going to have some similarities. That's why I just duplicated it. So what we're going to do is we're going to switch out the textures. So this one, I believe we added 4 little textures, and I think it makes sense to have a bit more variation on this one. So we'll use all 4. So this one, we're going to be using these 4. So variation 4, 5, 6, and 7. So 4, there's no easy way of doing that, is there? Yeah, okay, we can do it this way. Okay, so that's this one. Of course, this one is kind of pushing upwards. We don't want it to push upwards. We want it to push outwards and only outwards. So let's go and have a look at the options and see what we can do. I think we'll need to go to shape, box, probably want to go with sphere. Circle? Yeah, okay, circle makes sense. What does circle do for us? Oh, it already projects it outward. Nice. Okay, but it's going way too far, right? What we want to do is we want to change the size. So let's bring the size up to maybe 0.1. We're going to need to reduce the speed, of course. So speed being 3 and 5, it's going to need to be a lot slower. It's going to be, actually no, because it's dust, we want it to start off fast and then slow down. So we're going to need to give it some resistance. So let's leave speed alone. What we'll do is we will go and change the velocity over lifetime, I think. Let's try this and see. What do we get if we do a 10 here? Okay, that's the opposite of what we want. We want force over lifetime. I don't remember. We don't want sub-emitters, or maybe we do. That would be a neat idea, though I don't want to get into that right now. What I do want to do is... Okay, so I'm okay with shape for now. Got velocity over lifetime. There was one that was resistance. Limit velocity over lifetime. Yeah, I think this looks more like it. So let's try taking this up. Okay. Maybe that's not what we want. Maybe what we want is drag. Let's go with a 1. Let's go with a 10. Whoops. Okay, so that speed is way too much. Start speed. Let's go with 1 and 2. Okay. So that seems a bit more like it, but it's going out too far. However, I want it to really slow down. What is dampening? I don't know what dampening is. Let's mess with it. Okay. Oh, they're changing. Okay. It's not supposed to be changing. It's supposed to be constant. It's supposed to be constant. Frame over time. No, constant. Start frame, random between 2 constants. And we change that to a 4. Okay. Okay, so what we need to do is we need to really slow them down afterward. So we need, is it dampening or whatever? I don't know. We need to mess with this stuff till we figure it out. The speed limit of particles over the particle lifetime. I don't know what most of this stuff means, to be honest. I'm just messing with it. Where else did I do a similar thing that I can borrow from? The explosion. Yeah. Okay. Nope. Was it not called explosion? Okay. So what did we modify for this to kind of slow things down? We used emission, shape, limit velocity over lifetime, and that looks like what we used. So we used drag 10 to 60. Okay, so drag is what we need to use. And we need to use higher values. Size, texture. Okay, so drag is what we need to use. So we're kind of in the right category, just not using the information correctly. So limit velocity over lifetime. Okay, let's go back to it. I just want to put a really high number and see what happens with a really high number. Still not enough. I really want it to slow down, like to a near stop. That's more like it. So the drag needs to be really high for that to happen. Okay, but then they're not going fast enough. I want them to move faster. So we'll go speed back to 3 and 5. Okay, I think we're getting closer. Of course, we'll need to test it and to see what it really looks like, right? This is just kind of a synthetic initial look at it. We might need more particles as well, because sometimes it seems like it doesn't quite, depending on the scatter pattern that we get, because it is randomly generated, it doesn't look like it's quite what we want, but that's okay. We'll mess with it. Okay, so we got it to this point. Let's go back to the object class. Okay, so we need this reference as well to be able to, so we need particle system and particle system 2. We'll call this one number 2 for now. Where is it? Nope, I went by it. So if particle system 2 does not equal null, let's go ahead and play it. Okay, so we have both particles systems active. Just trying to visualize it and think, how can we get the desired outcome? I guess the only way was really to test it and see what it looks like and then iterate on it till we get what we want. Oh, right, I need to set the reference. I always forget about that. So what we need to do, of course, is to go into here. Particle system 2 needs to be, so we have beams and we need dust particles. We could definitely call them something else. I just can't think of what would be the appropriate term right now. And I do want to separate them out onto a different component class, because this should not be a part of the main environment dynamic object class. Oh, right. Okay. So the play, since it doesn't look right because they're both playing at the same time, the impact one should only play when you hit the ground, right? So that comes down to a timing thing. So what we want to do is we want to actually, how can we do that? We can put in a delay. That's one way of doing it. Or we can have it event-based, where we can listen in for the event of the Y transition completion. So when it comes down and hits the ground at that exact moment, we can play this. But for right now, just to kind of do a quick and dirty solution, let's put a delay on it temporarily, of course. So this one, we will put a duration start delay of, we'll say 0.4. I don't really know. I think 0.4 makes sense because we want it to start right before it hits the ground. So it kind of looks like it comes out when it hits the ground, but dust actually moves before impact to ground is when there's enough force to push everything below it out. Right? Okay. So we definitely need a bit more work on it, but you kind of get the idea though of what we're trying to do, right? And that's the important part. Okay, so let's tweak that a little bit more till we get something. All right, so the dust particles, what do we need to do here? Let's increase the size by a bit. Huh. That was strange. So when we go to point, how come they kind of look like they weren't moving? When we go and increase the start size, does size affect mass? That's very strange. We're getting a completely different look. I was not expecting that. So if we adjust size, how come we get a different result? Okay, so let's go somewhere in between then. Do we still get a different result? Yeah, okay, so size affects mass, which affects, okay. That kind of makes sense. I didn't really think of it that way, but and it is not sorting correctly. What's in front should be in front. That's very strange how it sorts that way. Let's go to render, sort mode by distance, oldest in front, youngest in front by depth. Let's try that. Still not what I was looking for. By distance, maybe? No. Okay, I'll need to look at that later. I'm not sure what the right value is. But okay, so there's a bunch of things we need to adjust to get, sort mode, render alignment. No, I think that's right. View is correct. Yeah, view is correct. It's the sort mode, oldest in front. I don't understand that. I'm not sure. Okay, so we'll leave that back at none because I'm not sure what the right setting is for that. All right, so let's go and adjust the number of particles themselves. We'll change emission to, max particles. Okay, so this needs to be up to 20 if that one is 20. Okay, let's be more specific about our start speed or be more limiting. That's so strange. Some of them don't really seem to go anywhere. Okay, let's increase the particles. Emission rate over time. Let's go with 100. No. Does this affect that? I wonder. Oh yeah, it definitely affects it. Okay. We're going to be here for a while, guys. We're going to be here for a while trying to figure this out. I thought it would be a bit easier, but of course, it's the stuff that you think is going to be easy or not difficult happens to be exactly the opposite. Okay, so we want a ring kind of looking thing. So to have a ring, let's set all of them to 4. Okay, so why are they coming out like that then? So start speed is a constant, we'll say. So it's a constant. Then that would mean it was the velocity over time. Let's change this to be also a constant. What else can we adjust here? Any suggestions? I'm open to suggestions. I think it's just a matter of learning how to get it to do what we want it to do through trial and error. But so let's see. Radius thickness. Okay, what is radius thickness? Oh. Okay, I didn't know that. I was not aware of that. Okay. Knowing that now, what we want is to bring down the radius, which is why the pattern wasn't working out the way we wanted it to. So you want radius to be about 0.5, radius thickness probably a 0.1. Let's see what that does for us. Mode random, loop ping pong, burst spread. Let's go with that. What does that do for us? That's definitely not what we want. I think we do want that random. I think it's getting a little bit closer. Still needs some work. What can we adjust? Because I feel like I'm just adjusting values without really understanding the parameters until I adjust them enough and I get an understanding of what the result is, and then going based off a result. So like a gut feeling kind of thing is kind of what I feel like I'm doing right now. Maybe that's the right approach. Maybe it's not, but I do feel like that the position, though, seems off. I feel like the position needs to be forward more. Okay, maybe not that much. I was really hoping that the cloud would come on top of this object and sort in that way, but maybe it's because it's on ground. What if we bring it up a bit? Like about there. Yeah, it's still sorting only behind it, which I find kind of strange. Because these ones that go forward should sort in front of it. I don't understand that part. I think really that's what's making the illusion less appealing, is that they're not sorting. It's not sorting, it's sorting it as flat. Would that be because of the material? Because we're using a sprite unlit material. What if we went to something else? I think that's what it might be, is that we're using a sprite and a sprite doesn't sort on the Z, which would kind of make sense. So then how did I do the other one then? That's my question. Okay, let's have a look at that. I want to save this though. So we will go to copy component. We'll stop it. And then paste component values. So let's keep that there. We did the explosion. Okay, so what did we use for this? Sprite unlit default. Okay, so why was this one sorting? At least I think it was sorting. And the other one is not. We can just make a material specifically for this and see if we get different results, is kind of what I'm thinking. So let's do that. Where's our materials? Blank. Oh, okay. We can just use this then. This looks about right. Universal render pipeline. Oh, this one is lit. We want unlit. We want unlit. Okay. So we'll create a material and we'll sell it. We'll call it effect unlit. Okay. Universal render pipeline. We want it to be unlit. Opaque. Yes, we want it to be transparent. Let's try this. I'm just curious if this results anything different, because then this material is different, so it might get us a different sorting result. I'm not sure, but it's worth a try just to see what happens. Okay, so dust particles will go into render, sprite unlit default, and then we called it effect. Effect unlit. Okay. let's see what this does. We put particles on an object, but I can't recall right now. Unfortunately, I'm not in a position to look it up. That's okay. So you put particles on an object. I'm not sure what you mean by put particles on an object, because a particle is on an object, a game object, right? Because it exists within the Unity universe or environment space, right? So, oh, that did sort. Okay, so that was potentially it then. Because I can see these ones are coming out in front of that. But what we don't have is transparency. Okay, so I think that is kind of in the right track. But I don't know what happened to the transparency, because I did specifically say that it is opaque. Didn't I? I thought I did. We're getting closer. Okay, so it is opaque. Oh, transparent. Okay. That's what I meant to say. Oh, I see. So as soon as you make it transparent, it doesn't sort. I was not aware of that. So as soon as you make it transparent, it doesn't sort. How does that make sense? I don't understand how that makes sense. Okay, so let's go back to here and go to sorting mode from none to by depth. Not sorting still. Let's try youngest in front, because I want it to sort with the object that it is like I want the basically I want the effects to sort around this object. That's the intent. That's why I can move this up as well. So about here. Okay, so when we play this, yeah, see, it doesn't look right if it doesn't sort. They all look behind, and that's not correct. Even though position-wise, they're not behind it. Not all of them anyway. But the ones that come out in front and extrude through the object, they shouldn't be sorted in behind. I don't understand that part myself. Okay, so let's try different options. By distance. Because I think these are for the object, not for the object interacting with other objects. Oldest in front? Nope. Youngest in front? Nope. By depth? No. Okay. So I'm not sure how to achieve that. I think it's something I'm going to have to research because it doesn't make sense to me right now. I'm confident that there's a way to do it, of course, or more than one way to do it. I just don't know what that is. Because a particle effect should be able to go both behind and in front of another 3D object, right? But what we're getting, though, is that it only goes behind, which is kind of strange. How are we doing for time? Oh, wow. Okay. So we're kind of getting low on time as well. Let's see. How can we... How can we get this to work? I don't think it would have anything to do with render mode, but let's try it anyway. Let's go with none. Okay, that's definitely not it. So we'll go with mesh. Nope. Vertical billboard. Horizontal billboard. Like you can see the scatter, right? So it's pushing outward. Okay, so let's go with stretched billboard. And then just billboard. Okay, so let's try moving it forward more. What happens then? It's still under. Even though it's clearly going through the object, it still renders under. But if we go and we change the effect to being transparent to opaque, right? And there we go. So that's exactly what I would expect. But now we lose transparency. Very strange. Of course, it doesn't look right. But that's what I would expect. It's just I don't understand why when it's transparent, the sorting doesn't work at all. Hmm. Yeah, I'm not sure. It's something I'll definitely have to look into later and see kind of what's going on. Maybe it's the blend mode. We could take it from alpha to this. Nope. Additive? That's not it. Multiply? That looks strange. You can do one thing per particle. If you want left particle and right particle, that is two particles on the same object in order to be perfect looking. I'm not sure I understand what you mean there. You can do one thing per particle. If you want left particle and right particle, that is two particles on the same object. Are you saying that each particle in this case would need to be treated as a separate object for us to be able to get the sort? If that's the case, then I really don't understand it, and I'll need to look into it a bit more, because that is a possibility, I guess, but it doesn't really make sense to me. Because the whole point of a particle system is to be able to bring really fast rendered individual textures, or if you want to call them sprites, whatever it is, and be able to bring them into the world, the game world, and have them be able to be rendered around, behind, in front of whatever it is that you have. You have two particles right now. We have two particle effects. I'm really focusing on the dust effect right now, which is about, we'll say, approximately 50 to 100 individual pieces that it emits. I will see if I can catch up on it next time we see each other. Yeah, I don't think I'll be solving this one tonight because I'm running low on time as well. And to be honest, I'm a bit tired right now. So I think after some good rest, I'll have a more refreshed point of view, and then I'll be able to likely address it at that time and figure it out. For right now, I don't know. I thought it would be easy personally. I thought it'd be easy, but I don't know. That's fine. I have to run now myself. Oh, okay. Yeah. No worries. Have a good night and have a great weekend. And I'll see you when I see you. Take care. Okay. I think really though, what it comes down to is I'm just not understanding it enough to be able to use it in the way that I think it should be working. So it's doing exactly what it's supposed to be doing. It's that I don't understand it enough to get it to do what it is that I want it to do. But I think still though, we made some pretty good progress here in that we got the so the kind of the beam part of it, that definitely needs some work as well. But once we get the timings and everything working correctly and have it come down faster, of course, speed up the animation and everything, I think it'll look really nice. We'll also want to likely move it up higher, like height-wise, so it really does come down from above instead of it only coming down from about this much height and traveling from there to here. I think we'll need to do that. The other thing I want to do is I want to move the particle emitter to match the position of the object. So the object looks like it's emitting the particles, because right now the particle emitter emits from the ground and it's always emitting upwards. We want to change that so that the emitter is always coming from the from wherever the main center point of this object is. So it'll always look like it's emitting from the object. Once we bring all of those in together, I think it should look pretty good. But I mean, for right now, I can't solve this right now, and it's pretty much end of night for me, or end of pretty much I think end of this broadcast for me. We'll continue, of course, on the next broadcast will be on Tuesday. Hopefully I'll have a chance to work on it on the weekend a little bit, and I usually do try to set some time aside for it, and by then I will have hopefully figured it out. If not, and if I see it's something that I need to put some more research and time into before I get a full understanding of it and get a better appreciation of it, I'll likely just move on to something else and then come back to this afterward. That's definitely a possibility as well. But of course, the next thing, once we get all of these different visual aesthetics implemented, is to bring them in and see what does it look like in the game, right? Because right now it's in a controlled environment where it's pretty good in terms of getting an overall understanding of how it would look in the game, but you don't really know until you bring it in and then you discover, okay, maybe this doesn't really work when it's in the game, and it kind of worked when it was in an isolated environment, or maybe it needs to be faster, or maybe it needs to be toned down a little bit because it seems to be a little bit overwhelming. That kind of stuff, I think, is the next step. But before I get there, I do want to experiment with it some more to see if I can get it to be at a point where I can be happy with the overall result of what it is that we're getting before we move on to the next step. Anyway, I think this is a good time to basically step away from it and just kind of take a break and have the start of my weekend. So for those of you that are here, that are watching, thank you for coming and watching the broadcast. Make sure to hit that follow, subscribe, and join Discord if you like. I do broadcast on Tuesdays and on Fridays. If you can't make the broadcast, you're welcome to watch the videos. They're archived onto YouTube. And I do write a dev journal every couple of weeks to roughly, I try to write one every 2 weeks or so. It doesn't always work out, of course, because I may be busy or whatever the reason may be. Just can't allocate time for it. But I do try to write regular dev journals as well. But that's going to be it for me today. So thank you for watching. Have a great evening, and I'll see you next time.